Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com. This is episode 5 of Questions and Answers. In this episode, I'll be answering a few questions about Lightroom and a couple questions about photography in general. This first question is from Charles. I really am getting into photography and love your channel. Thanks, Charles. I'd like to learn more about all aspects of photography and was wondering if you could recommend other YouTube channels. What channels do you watch? Well, I have to say I really don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of YouTube, but there are certain channels that I really do prefer, and I'm just going to show them to you real quick. The first one is Flern. That's PH Learn, and the guy who runs this is Aaron. He does a really great job presenting the material. Most of his videos are about Photoshop, but he does have a lot of videos on Lightroom and photography in general. So when you have time, if you haven't already, check out Flern. I really like the way Aaron does his videos. The other channel I like to watch is Snap Factory. That's done by Mark Wallace. Mark Wallace also does a lot of videos for Adorama. So if you look up Adorama TV on YouTube, you'll see that there's a lot of different photography how-to videos on Adorama, and Mark Wallace does a lot of them. Most of his videos are about studio, like in the studio. And he does a little bit of everything, though. But I really do like his studio videos specifically. So I really like that. The other one is Gavin Hoey. And Gavin, too, has a lot of videos on Adorama. But he has his own YouTube channel as well. Gavin's videos are a little more centered towards Photoshop and Lightroom. But he does do like everything. He does in the field and in the studio and stuff like that. And I like the way, again, he presents the material. And finally, I like Tony and Chelsea Northrup. Their videos cover everything. They do a little bit of everything from gear reviews to how to shoot this and how to do that. And they just do a great job. And their production is great. So I really do enjoy their videos as well. So that's it. Those are the ones that I mainly, if I stumble across a video by one of these people, I definitely watch it. Other than that, I mean, there's other tons of great presenters out there. Generally speaking, I'm not a gearhead per se, although I am interested in specs and things like that. So I don't really watch a lot of these channels that do a lot of gear reviews. And you'll probably notice that I've kind of stopped doing gear reviews because it's really not in my wheelhouse. It's not something I'm interested in doing. Although, if you're a YouTuber, a photography YouTuber, gear reviews get you the most views. It's just not something I'm interested in doing. So if I'm interested in a piece of gear, like a lens or a camera body, I'll just Google it and then read a review or watch a video review on the product by anybody. So I'm not specifically looking out for certain YouTubers, specific YouTubers that do a lot of reviews. So that's me, though. So, you may be different, but if you're interested in things like I'm interested in, you may like these channels that I just mentioned. This next question is from Lauren. Can you do a video walking us through a vertical panorama, or whatever it may be called? I am trying to seam one picture above the other to make an image and have no luck. Sure. I have these images here. They're not great. I just took these the other day. I was at Ohio State University. And I took this, I was in their library, and I just thought this was really cool. They just have these, stacks of bookshelves. You could see these from the lobby of the library. So I just quickly took these two crappy shots. And we could seam these together in a vertical panorama. And the one thing you've got to keep in mind for any panorama, whether it's a horizontal or a vertical panorama, you should try to overlap quite a bit. Overlap about a third of the way. This ensures that you'll get a good stitch of the seam. So you'll see here that I went up maybe 3 levels on this first shot, and then on this shot I'm still like way down here in the lobby, with the shot. So it's overlapped quite a bit. And that's one mistake I see a lot of people make with panoramas, is they don't overlap enough. The other thing you want to keep in mind is when you do stitch the panorama together, it's kind of distorted and you're going to have to crop it a lot. So shoot way past the limits, meaning in this case for the vertical, shoot way higher than you needed to go and way lower than you needed to go, because you're going to crop a lot of that out, and you'll lose stuff from the sides as well. And similarly for a horizontal panorama, go way further to the left than you need to go and way further to the right than you needed to go, and make sure that there isn't a lot that is important at the top and bottom, because you're going to lose that. So what we're going to do is we'll stitch these together. The first thing I do is, you can see the exposures are considerably different. These are raw files, by the way. I didn't process them at all. So what I do is I pick the one that I think is the most properly exposed. Now I'm only going to stitch 2 together. You could do, 8, 10, 12 images. It just takes more computing power and will take your computer longer to do. But for the sake of this demonstration, 2 images will work out well and will be relatively quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to match total exposures, is what it's called. So you click on the one that is most properly exposed. Then you hold the Command key, in my case, because I have a Mac. If you have a PC, you'd hold the Control key in and click on each subsequent image that you want to match the exposures to. Now I have these 2 selected, and I'm going to go up to Settings, and right here is Match Total Exposures. Now I get emails now and then when I do demonstrate this. They say that this is grayed out. It will be grayed out if you don't have more than 1 image selected down here in the film strip. So make sure that you have all your images selected, then do Match Total Exposures. And what it will do, it will adjust them each so they're exposed equally. So that's what I do first. Then I keep those 2 images selected, and I right-click on either of them, and I go up to Photo Merge and Panorama. And you're going to have these different projections here, and pretty much you pick the one which looks best to you. It's really as simple as that. So you go through and see which one seems to do the best job. Now you can see with spherical, it's got a lot of distortion in it, and cylindrical also has a lot of distortion in it, but perspective seems to be the most square. So we'll go with perspective, and I'm going to click auto crop, because if I didn't, we'd have all this blank pixels over here on the side. And this is what I mentioned, why you want to overlap a lot, and you want to shoot past the top and bottom in this case, so where you need to be, and the sides. You're going to get cropping out quite a bit of pixels. So we're going to crop those out, and you're just going to click merge, and then it will create your panorama. You can see that the status bar is in the top left-hand corner. And once it's finally done creating the panorama, it'll just put it right here. And you could click on it, and there it is. Now you could come in and further crop this. I'd probably do an auto transform here. See how it made it look more upright when I did auto. See how it looks like it's leaning back? And then I click auto, and then you click constrain crop, and you can see it cropped out even more. And you can see how the floor is even now like lost. So it wasn't a great vertical panorama. It's not something I'd ever try to sell or anything, but it worked well for this demonstration, and it did demonstrate the fact that you really need to shoot way past your limits, top and bottom, because you may get them cropped out, in the final image. So I hope that answered your question, Lauren. Just make sure you overlap quite a bit. I think that might be the problem you're having, where you can't get them stitched together properly. All right, this next question is from Cliff, and I have to admit, many of the questions I get, I am a little confused, and this was one. It took me actually a full day to understand what Cliff was talking about here. He said, suddenly my thumbnails have become smaller to make way for text such as, and he had it formatted kind of like this, and this is what kind of screwed me up. I really didn't, he did go on, actually, I didn't have included here, that when he hits I, it doesn't make the images bigger or something. So I was really kind of confused. So what I think I finally figured out is what Cliff is talking about. He isn't really talking about this up here in the top left-hand corner that you hit I with. I think what he was talking about is when he's in grid view of the library module, and you could see that there in the slide, if you look at it, It has the size here, then it's a PSD file, and it has the name of the file here. And this is similar to what he has written here. So I think, and he's talking about thumbnails being smaller, and I think this is what he's meaning. So what you need to do, what happens here is you could vary the size of these thumbnails when you're in grid view. And to do that, if you look down here on the toolbar, if you don't see this toolbar, hit the T key on your keyboard. The T key will turn the toolbar off, and the T key will turn the toolbar on. And you'll notice in the far right hand corner I have a slider, and with the slider I could make these thumbnails larger and smaller. Now if you don't have this slider here, if you'll notice there's a little drop down, and if you click on this, make sure that thumbnail size is checked. If it isn't checked, you won't have the slider. So make sure that's checked, and you could just move the slider. If you don't want to use the slider, you could use the equal key to make the thumbnails bigger, and you could use the minus key to make them smaller. All right, so that may be how your thumbnails got smaller than you wanted them to be. You might have inadvertently hit the minus key on your keyboard and made them smaller. Now, real quick, I'm kind of anticipating a question I might receive. You can see all this info up here. You might not have that on your thumbnails when you're in grid view of the library module. What you need to do is just right click on any of these thumbnailed images and go down to the very bottom where it says view options. And you can see when you're in grid view, you could show exactly what you want to show on these thumbnails. So what you want is expanded cells, not compact cells. You can see how compact cells don't show as much. Expanded cells, and then you could just go through here. Now I have show header with labels. I'm using the defaults. And the defaults are the index number on the far top left. The far top right is the copy name or file base name. Then below the bottom left index number is the crop dimensions, and then the file extension. So those are the defaults, and you could change those. See how when I click it, takes them off, puts them on. So you could go through here and you could change any of these, what's shown in these thumbnails with these view options in grid view. You also could change things right here, the info in loop view, as you may want to if you click there. So that's just kind of anticipating a question I might receive down the line. So I hope that answered your questions, Cliff. Let me know. All right, this next question, well, it's not really a question. This is somebody emailed me, Mark. Mark said, I note that you believe that all late mirrorless cameras apply lens correction automatically in camera raw. This is not the case with the Sony a6000. Actually, Mark went on to explain further, and he also sent me some images which I didn't ask him permission to show, so I'm not going to show them, proving that the Sony a6000 does not actually put camera corrections automatically on the raw file, even though when you look at lens corrections, it says it right here that they were applied. And I believe him. I mean, it's true. It's, you know, funny thing is, when I would ever talk about lens corrections, I would always say that most mirrorless cameras have the lens corrections applied to the raw file automatically, and you don't have to do anything in Lightroom. I think the last two videos that I talked about lens corrections, for some reason I decided to make that absolute, and I said all mirrorless cameras do that. And it didn't take very long for someone to email me and correct me on that, and that's fine. We want to have correct information. So I apologize for that. Yes, the correct statement should be that most mirrorless cameras will automatically apply lens corrections to the raw file, and you won't have to do anything in Lightroom. How do you know when that isn't the case? Because in the case of the a6000, it's actually showing that the lens corrections were applied. And from the images that Mark showed me, it very obviously was not applied. He showed me like a dry erase board that was taken with a relatively wide angle lens, and you could see the barrel distortion in the image really profoundly. And when he applied the lens corrections manually with the lens correction tab, the lens profile corrections, it corrected the problem, and we had nice, perfectly squared dry erase board. So the best thing, you got to research on the internet. Mark referenced bulletin board somewhere or something that mentioned it. So you have to just research your own camera and make sure that the lens corrections are being applied to the raw file automatically. Now I can't say I shoot, the only mirrorless cameras I use are Fujifilm, and the ones I use do have the lens corrections applied automatically, so I don't have to worry about clicking this checkbox. So if you shoot Fujifilm, you're all set. I'm not going to mention any other camera brand because I'm not 100% sure. So Olympus, other model Sonys, I don't know for sure. So in the future, I will say most mirrorless cameras apply lens profile corrections automatically to the raw file, and you don't have to do anything. I will not say all. All right, so thank you, Mark, for that. Okay, this next question's from Spencer. Spencer says, how do you deal with slumps? My photography was coming along great until recently. Most of my shots stink lately, and yesterday I took photos of my niece for my sister, and the images are overexposed because I forgot I had exposure compensation turned on. Well, there's a lot of different ways people deal with slumps, and trust me, everyone gets in slumps. As a matter of fact, I was recently in a slump. Every image I took just stank, and it happens to everybody. And there are two main ways people deal with slumps, and actually both of these ways work for me. One is you just put your cameras away and don't even think about photography for a little while. It may be just a day or two, maybe it'll be a week or two, but just don't think about photography at all. Do something else you're interested in. For me, I'm interested in baseball, so it was a little easier when my kids were younger. We just go to the diamond and play baseball. Now that they're older and they're busy, and they're adults really, they don't always have the time to go with their dad to the diamond. So I might watch baseball on TV or something like that, but I just get away from it. I just don't think about photography at all. I think about something else I'm interested in, and that helps. The other thing you could do, and I do this as well, is keep shooting, but shoot something that you're particularly good at. Meaning, for me, I like to take animal pictures, and I could do them either like in a nature walk setting or at the zoo. Now, this is a horrible analogy, but taking pictures of animals at a zoo is like shooting fish in a barrel. They're very easy to do. So if I am in a slump, I will often just go to the zoo and take some pictures. For me at least, it's very easy to take pictures of animals at a zoo, and it kind of will get you out of your slump. It gives you that positive motivation that you looked at your images and they're good, and you'll be able to then maybe see things a little differently for other types of photography, because it's all like a lot of it's in your head when you're in a slump. So do one of those two things. Either put your cameras away for a while and do something else you're interested in, or take pictures, go out and take pictures, but of something you're just very good at doing all the time, and see if that helps. So that's it for this episode of Questions and Answers. Thank you everyone that watches my videos, and a special thank you to everyone that makes donations or buys my Lightroom presets and Photoshop actions or uses my affiliate links. It's because of you I'm able to do these free videos. If you're interested in learning how you could help, just look in the top right hand corner of this video. You'll see the letter I. Click on that I and you'll get info on how you could help me make better videos. Again, thank you everyone. I really do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.